Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio as we continue to celebrate so many wonderful people across the great state, especially here in coastal Mississippi, who are working in the trenches to make this such a great place to live, work, and play. Hey, listen, it's election day in coastal Mississippi. Municipalities are out voting. In fact, JT Mitchell and I spent a considerable amount of time last week on our Thursday show. We talked about the news headlines and the columns I've been writing about coastal Mississippi, but we talked about municipal elections happening across the state of Mississippi and why it's so important. And I mentioned that as the publisher of the Sun Herald, the thing I actually missed about those days with an editorial board and a strong reporting staff is that we made a commitment to talk to candidates, to talk to incumbents, and in some cases we did editorials supporting one or the other. And it was great because I believe that all politics is very local. And, if you think about the boards of supervisors, the city councils, the mayors of coastal Mississippi, so much of what they do affects our daily life. And so people are engaged in that process. And that's a really, really important thing. So if you didn't vote yet, please go out and vote. I think you'll be glad you did. Hey, listen. I had a show with a friend, someone who I saw. In fact, it was at the Mayor's Forum in Ocean Springs that I had the opportunity to facilitate. And Melanie Allen, who is a longtime community leader in Ocean Springs, was there, and we reconnected. And she and I did a show together, and we had a terrific conversation, but we didn't have enough time. And I wanted to bring her back onto the show and talk a little bit more about specific things that she's involved in as it relates to her real commitment to volunteering in the community. So without any further ado, I want to bring back into the conversation Melanie Allen, who's again a consummate volunteer, especially in Ocean Springs. Melanie, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing quite well, Ricky. It's great to see you today, and I'm humbled and appreciative you decided to have me back.
It was great to have you back. Go back and look at our show together. You see it. People enjoyed it. I mean, the level of engagement, the number of views, people. You have a lot of fans out there.
Well, that's humbling also. But if you do good things in this community, you end up knowing great people, and it widens your circle of folks and everything I've been involved in this city has been a positive experience. And mostly it's the people.
Longtime volunteer, you're a successful entrepreneur. You even ran for mayor of Ocean Springs during the last cycle, and you actually got a bunch of votes. I'm surprised you didn't run it again.
There was a lot of conversation about that, but made the decision. My time had come and gone. We came really close. We were just a little over 100 votes behind Kenny. We won the primary, but I don't question God when things happen the way they do. I accept them, and I do the best I can with it. But I'm almost 73, and my time for that has come and gone. So I'm a helper now.
Yeah, listen, I've had several people ask me, when are you going to run for something? It seems like all my life they've been saying, when are you going to run for something?
Yeah.
Never. I'm never going to run for anything. The problem is I'm too independent. I want to be able to say what I think. And when you're independent, you have to be willing to say something that other people don't necessarily want to hear. And I don't listen.
To say the hard stuff.
You go back and look at my body of work on this show. 1,500 shows, 1,500 conversations. And I don't think anyone who's a regular listener would come out of that and say, have you ever said a bad thing about anybody? I mean, have you ever done anything bad? And the truth is, I spend my time celebrating and talking to people, but I've been on a couple of issues. Like I think we need seafood labeling in Mississippi. I think when there was an effort to undermine the coastal Mississippi tourism effort, I chaired the tourism effort after Hurricane Katrina. We made the recommendation to create coastal Mississippi tourism,
yes,
the one really regional effort that we have. Yeah. And I wanted to make sure we preserved that and not lose that. But, when I get in an issue and I get locked on, pay attention. Like I'm locked on right now to the need for us to speak with one voice on big economic development projects. But
yes,
as a general rule, and I don't do that in a way that says it's anyone's fault or that anyone did anything wrong. I just think it's time for us to move on from Hurricane Katrina and start to redefine ourselves not as survivors, but as a thriving economic engine for this state that needs to diversify its economy. That's kind of where I am on that subject.
I think this is a big time for Mississippi. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, it really is. So, but anyway, yeah. But otherwise, politics is not for me. But election is happening. It's been so spirited. I had the opportunity, as I mentioned, to participate in the mayor's forum over there, and I've watched it closely. I often said about it, and I said it when I did the facilitation there of the mayor's forum. I often said, even dating back to my early days as publisher, and even before that Ocean Springs has always been an incredibly literate community. I mean, they're extremely well-read, educated, involved. And when we did readership studies, it was off the charts, the number of people in Ocean Springs that paid attention to current events. And that's still the case today, isn't it?
If you go to cocktail hour in one of the fine establishments downtown, we're not necessarily talking about people. We're talking about ideas, things to come, things we could do better, things we want to be involved in. And it makes me very proud. And it follows through. You saw the percentage of folks who passed that school bond issue just recently. That's the commitment. They know that education is vital. We've got a couple of college campuses now in our county, and the community college is exceptional too. They get it here about education. And I actually know several people who live here but work in Mobile, but they're here because their kids are going to get an exceptional education. And that's a huge plus for this community.
No, it really is. I mean, you think about it. The former editor of the Sun-Herald, Stan Tyner, used to say that the Panhandle of Florida, Mobile, the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and maybe part of Louisiana ought to go back to the old Florida, state lines, and we should all be. And he called it Gulflandia. This community.
Okay with that.
The state of our own, because we share so much in common. But listen, Jeff Duncan, who's an award-winning columnist for the Times-Picayune, I had the opportunity to work with him when I was publisher there and president of NOLA Media Group. He's on my show every Friday, every single Friday, and he's been such a good friend. And we talk often about the Gulf South, how it's so interconnected. Yes. I had the opportunity to talk with Clay Williams recently from the airport, and he talked about just how really thriving the Mississippi Gulf Coast was when the Super Bowl was in New Orleans. I mean, just
absolutely,
you can't not
everything was full.
That's right, and of course the Saints and Pelicans and other organizations, they understand that they are not successful unless they touch the entire Gulf South, which includes coastal Mississippi. Yeah. But listen, you're just a consummate volunteer. And one of the things I want to really kind of walk through is some of the stuff that you're involved with there. But when you got to Ocean Springs, did you decide day one that you were going to make a difference?
Absolutely not. I was not mature enough in my thinking, I'm going to say. And of course, it wasn't that many years ago. I think I've lived here about 30 years now. I grew into this community, and I give a lot of credit, not just to the folks in the good organizations, but Katrina. Katrina changed me forever. I think I said to you in previous conversation, I learned that being a good community member is not just writing a check to a nonprofit or going to a meeting occasionally. It means be a member, to do work, to have goals and achieve them for the betterment of the whole community. And we have a lot of folks who feel that way in Ocean Springs, and learning that I needed help and that there were people locally, regionally, nationally, probably internationally, who came here to help us. They were great examples to me of what I wanted to be on another occasion. So that horrible experience, which left me with a mortgage because I did not have flood insurance, but it was it was a real growth experience, and I'll be forever grateful for what it taught me.
Yeah, you and I shared our stories when we were together before, but I have the same impression. Obviously, I'm a different person, a different father, a different leader.
Yeah.
And I don't see myself doing this show and just having conversations with people. I see myself doing this show and helping to raise the bar for coastal Mississippi. And behind the scenes, I'm actively engaged in conversations about that. I wouldn't do the show. I would not spend the time it takes to do this show in retirement if I didn't believe that I could have an impact, that could help contribute to something greater. That happened before Katrina, but after Katrina, I understood it in a totally different way. And I went on a mission as a leader to make a difference. And I'll go to my grave, I guess, working to do my part, because you're right. Yeah. It's more than just writing a check and having a quick conversation.
It feeds into my religious beliefs as well. I'm Episcopalian, go to St. John's here in Ocean Springs, wonderful parish. And we often talk there about the fact that we are, as human beings, we're the hands and the activity and the growth of the spirit that we believe in.
Hey,
so we go out and do that work. It's important.
We'll pick it up right there with Melanie Allen when we come back on the other side. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. We're visiting today with my friend, the consummate volunteer in Ocean Springs, Melanie Allen. And, one of the things that I love about doing this show is not only getting to know people like Melanie better, but it's the conversations we have off the air. And, one of the things I say, Melanie, is often we should have just let it run. We should have just let the video run, and we would have captured, I think, one of the sweetest conversations about how humble we are to do what we do and how connected we are through our Hurricane Katrina experience and how that affects us today. And it makes us more sage. I don't think you can ever say yourself as a sage, but the wisdom that those experiences bring to the table are so powerful.
Yes.
And I love sharing that with people like you. It really is. Hey, let's get specific. You've been really involved in the tree canopy preservation effort and renewal in Ocean Springs. I mean, come on now. We're talking about an identifying feature in that city.
Totally so.
Yeah.
Totally so. I am very pleased to be involved in the Ocean Springs Tree Canopy Renewal Project. This was crafted originally by my good friend Julia Weaver, who was Alderman at Large here in Ocean Springs right after Katrina. And we spoke to the mayor. Mayor Holloway has always had an open door for us when we come in. Some of my ideas are not great ones, but he's never said, no, I don't want to talk to you about it. But we've gotten great support from him for this tree canopy renewal project, the Board of Aldermen as well. And our goal is to try to get from a 42% tree coverage in this city to about a 50% tree coverage. The trees are not just beautiful, although we cannot imagine Washington Avenue or downtown Ocean Springs without those heritage live oaks. But the trees have other value. They do provide shade. They encourage recreation. They deal with storm water, drainage in particular, and getting ourselves, if we're going to be the town that we aspire to be, the trees are extremely important on infrastructure level and a cosmetic level. So Representative Hank Zuber has been very supportive of this project. He and, Brent. I can't remember Brent's last name, but he's with Hancock Whitney. Mm-hmm. And together we are all working on getting at least 60 trees in the ground before this quarter is over. And then by the end of the year, we hope to have 200.
Well, that's
small
great.
Project. It's an example. It involves commercial and residential property, but it's nobody sits under the tree for shade, the tree that they just planted. You do this for the future. And like we've been talking about, all the plans, the dreams, the moving forward, education, trees belong in that conversation too.
Well, when I visit with Mayor Knight, he often says something like planting trees that I'll never see the shade of.
Yeah,
and that's true.
That's absolutely right.
Economic development is such a long-term thing. You have to, it's the art of the long ball and the
Yes.
connection between those trees and the shade of those trees. In a city like Ocean Springs, my goodness, what an identifying feature,
True. And the other thing that Julia and I want to make really clear with this is we're trying to give the board and decision makers a scientific background and basis, not just an emotional one when we talk about planting trees or taking trees down. Well, we had a lot of controversy about good friends of mine who are constructing a beautiful house on the water over off of Shearwater. They had to take down some trees. Not the majority by any means, but it was very controversial in this town. And it gets a little bit ugly. Trees bring out anger in people. And I think one expression I read somewhat recently, Ricky, is that one person can be admiring a tree and the person standing next to them can see that tree as in their way. So, it's really true. But I would love to see the city get back to having an arborist on staff. I think we're getting a lot of great support. This board has really understood that we're trying to do an inventory. If we have an inventory of all the magnificent trees in town, we can not only see where they are, we can see where they are not. We can see the areas of large expanses of concrete or roofing on a large commercial building. Then we can make intelligent and good decisions about how to improve and renew the tree canopy on an ongoing basis. The trees, for example, and I won't talk the whole time about trees, although I could, the trees on Washington Avenue, those beautiful live oaks, and there are a few sycamores in there as well. There's 72 trees from the railroad track down to Porter Avenue. And those trees were almost all planted around the same time, after a hurricane and then a bad fire. So they're all the same age. And trees do occasionally age out. So the importance of recognizing the need for tomorrow and planting those trees for today, it's a great project, and we're getting a lot of enthusiasm and support from the mayor and support from Hank Zuber.
Yeah, you probably watched this, but there's this huge, beautiful live oak on Pass Road near Beauvoir that fell as a result of the Chick-fil-A, And I just wondered, couldn't Chick-fil-A have found a way to build around that? I mean, I just hated to see that.
I know.
And even when they took it. Even when they took it,
in some areas of town, you can see where the curb was moved out into what the street was to go around a great tree. There's one in front of Bradford O'Keefe on Porter Avenue where we did that. I
was going to say even when they took that tree, they kind of hit it. They did it. They grabbed it and they put it. Brought it behind and had trucks parked in front of it. They didn't want people to see the pain of removing it. And sometimes, and I don't know the dynamics. It may have been impossible to do the concept they wanted to do, but it still just hate seeing it. Just kind of the reality of it.
Because I think the great expression, Ricky, is that the history of our community is held in the rings of those trees.
It is.
And they are not just emotionally, we see those and we think, oh, this tree is 85 years old, but also tells you the environmental health of that tree. It tells you how much rain we had that year, big rain, little rain. Learning.
Hey, know what, Melanie? What's interesting is that tree in particular, and the trees that you mentioned going down the main boulevard of Ocean Springs, or any boulevard of Ocean Springs for that matter, is that they're surrounded by asphalt and concrete.
Yeah.
And in order to stand the test of time under those sort of developmental, realities of year to year, more and more encroachment on their root system and all of that.
Absolutely.
The fact that they survived that and hurricanes and all the other stuff they had.
Yes.
Wow. The live oak is such a perpetual, resilient tree in coastal Mississippi.
Yeah. Its whole growth and patterns, I think, have morphed to our climate and experiences down here. Live oaks, I have a good friend who's a sculptor, works in wood a great deal, can't stand working with live oaks because their textures kind of grow and move in a not a constant straight line, but they curve. They found the trees have known themselves that this gives them strength. It's remarkable. And I look at those trees, just as you said, on Washington, and I wonder, how are you surviving? Because live oaks don't put down a big, long taproot. They put their root systems out laterally. And it is one of the reasons they survive. But we are so blessed with them. We've got to be good to these trees. The only thing I ever have to say to somebody is close your eyes and then open them, look down Washington and see it without those trees. We are anywhere USA if that happens.
No, and look, and
they're
now
part of our family.
Listen, I love going to the Smoky Mountains, and we particularly enjoy going to places like Dollywood. I mean, I'm sorry, we just love it. We love that.
Not a problem. We all love the Dolly.
we love Dolly. We really do. But when the Christmas time thing about it, and the lights and the trees, and I don't know if that's controversial or not, but boy, does it bring focus to those trees. Let
me tell you, it is very popular. It is probably, I told Kenny not long ago, you may be known as the mayor who lit up the Christmas trees all over town. And he was like, Melanie, I'd like to be known for more than that. And I'm sure he will be. But that was a brilliant idea. There are 3 of them are lighted in Marshall Park every Christmas now. And it just, everybody's spirits are lifted when those trees get lights on them.
Hey,
and
listen,
we don't
Melanie,
need to know why, it just works.
What's really neat too is that you see in social media families with their Christmas music playing in their cars and their video and their drive through downtown. And you see that over and over and over again. Yes, you know then that you've struck something that it makes that community different. And yeah, it really did show in a big way. But listen, Melanie, here's the thing. This is exactly what I thought would happen. We end up getting into all these incredible conversations, and what I hope people will do as a result of these conversations is say, okay, I got to find my role. I want to be involved in the community. Let me go find my role. And so the next time we talk, and we will get together again soon, we'll talk about the improvements at Marshall Park and public art projects, which I can't say enough about, and a long list of other possibilities. But it's been a pleasure to spend some time with you.
It's always my pleasure. It's a great conversation with you, and I thank you for asking me back.
You bet. It's been and you'll be back again. This has been my friend Melanie Allen. We'll see you.
Everyone
and when we come
vote.
back, we're going to talk about a traveling Vietnam wall. We'll see you after this.